The Blues for Brothers have returned. We had to come back because Calvin Booth felt the heat. He felt the pressure. And did he put the bat signal up? No. He put the Russell Westbrook symbol up. And let me tell you, it's got me feeling good, Ryan. Dan, play that funky music. Welcome in. We are back to discuss the end of the Boston Celtics reign. That's right. This is an emergency free agency podcast. Here with the Blues for Brothers, I am Kyle Poland, joined as always by my brother Ryan Poland. Ryan, how are you feeling now that it's all but assured that we are going to win the 2025 title? How does that feel to you?
Well, yeah, that's an interesting opening question. I'm going to say that I'm less confident than you, but that feels great. Like when I allow myself to really let that feeling in, it feels great. You know me, I'm always protecting myself. I don't want to get hurt. So, I'm not going to allow myself to fully believe that yet, but that is a very exciting prospect.
Yeah, I'm being a little facetious. I don't fully believe it yet either. But I am here I feel like with the Broncos, we're always here and we always get put in this position of being the Debbie Downers of like the local media because people will just be like, is Bo Nix as good as Patrick Mahomes and Peyton Manning combined? Maybe. And what, you're telling me that team doesn't win a Super Bowl with this roster? We got Tim Patrick coming off after tearing 12 of his ACLs. Like, they get a little too optimistic, so we have to bring them down. Nuggets fans, it feels like we're in a full-on panic 2 weeks ago.
Snug life, man. Snug life.
And I think I haven't fully had this conversation with you, but it feels like we're actually going to bring some positivity and some optimism to the world here. Because if I had to give the Nuggets adding Holmes, Saric, and then Westbrook, presumably. Mark Stein came out a few days ago and said we were basically the only suitor for him. The Clippers want him off the books, and we can absorb him.
And Jokic have reportedly both said that they want to play with him. So, or not Ayton, DeAndre.
Yeah,
Jordan, DJ, which I think actually does kind of matter because he has been teammates with Russell. So,
yeah. Well, let's just dive into it, Ryan. Okay.
Let's take them one at a time.
Okay. So Holmes first. We've already kind of given that out, but he's officially signed now. Everything I've seen from the introductory press conference has been unbelievable. Just like, yeah, this organization is going to stick with you. They're going to develop you. I feel great. Zeke. Yeah, I mean, other than that, and he's just seems like he's going to be great culture guy, going to fit in, and I kind of like the Nuggets instead of adding a less skilled player who fits the traditional center, just saying, hey, because like Saric isn't a traditional center too. Sorry, this bleeds into the next one a little bit, but like they're just kind of like, hey, when we really want to kick someone's ass, we're going to play Gordon as our backup center. But we saw it's nice to have some other bodies that are 6'9", 6'10", that you can throw on a backup center so that you're not getting just killed against some bigger teams. And obviously, Saric has played in big games. Holmes, has a really great pedigree that could fit in, and it's just about seeing what he does. So I don't care about the second round picks. I think they're pretty good thing to give away at this point. It seems pretty hard for first round picks to stay in the league, much less second round picks. So I would give that. My excitement about that was like a 9 out of 10. Like, I mean, I'm a little jealous that the Timberwolves went all in and went and got somebody, but the more I thought about it, the more I was like, this is a historically bad draft, and you took a gamble on a very skinny guard who, could not pan out easily, and you've just traded away your whole future for that. Like, I'd wait for a little deeper draft, right, to try to make that move. But I do think that was smart by Conley there. So that's the only thing that keeps me from being like a 10. But like in the range of where the Nuggets were, I don't think there's a player that could have made me more excited than Holmes.
No, I mean, we talked about it beforehand, and I think we were both excited about the prospect, and it was pretty well linked that like that's who we wanted. And I also think that like Calvin Booth deserves. We may criticize him later in this podcast. I don't know, but I think he's done some things that I wish he had done differently, or at least I wished he had managed differently. But I think Calvin Booth has proven to be a good use or a good evaluator in the draft. And I think that matters. And so in what you're talking about, a historically bad draft, like it's not as if, we're going to find some second guy on a championship team where we're sitting in the draft. So like you kind of have to find the diamonds in the rough that fit the skill set that you need. And I think the underrated thing about the potential of Holmes is playing him next to Jokic. Like he doesn't have to play the 5. And I think that's true, not to step again into Saric, but I think that's true of Saric too. Like if we're playing a Timberwolves team that has Cat and Rudy out there, like we can play one of those two guys against Cat, and it's not a mismatch, and they can easily switch off of that too. Well, maybe not Saric anymore, but definitely Holmes can.
And certainly better than anyone we had as a second option when Gordon got in foul trouble in the playoffs.
And I think the thing that Holmes has some AG's type skills in him. He's not as offensively talented as AG was in Arizona, nor will he be as talented as he is in the NBA, but he is he's a vertical threat. He's athletic. He has like kind of a sneaky mid-range game. So I think it's going to be a positive addition. And I think to your point about trading up, I think you kind of just have to do what you have to do in the moment to go get the guy, to make sure that you get the guy that you want to get. And if that means giving up a second round pick, you have to go do that. I'm certainly not in a position to know enough to criticize anybody and be like, well, you could have just stayed where you were. He would have still, like, who knows? I don't know. So they know better than me, and I will trust them that they made the right decision.
Yeah. Yep. So then we get into Reggie Jackson. We get cash considerations back in the end with like a 6-team deal. But it's basically we give him Reggie Jackson for nothing. What were your thoughts on that move? I know we talked about earlier saying like, hey, maybe Reggie can go on a little swing and you can get a little something for him and Najee. It appeared that the Nuggets had said, nope, small guards don't age well. I don't think you're going to have a moment that your value is going to go up, and it's worth it to us to just get this off the roster so we can, I think this is when panic hit the most when we did this, and then the news started to come out like, oh, Westbrook. And then, it shifts a little bit, but I wanted to know your kind of feelings of, would you have liked for them to wait longer to pull the trigger, or is the news of Westbrook, which obviously plays into why you need to do this, because they don't want to give up on Pickett yet, and you're renting Russ, right?
I wasn't upset about this in the moment, to be honest with you. I mean, we watched a lot of Nuggets basketball last year, and there were not very many moments where I was like, man, I'm really happy we have Reggie right now. Like, he just didn't impact the game in that way. And it's hard to, obviously he's a local guy. Like, I didn't have anything against Reggie. I liked the threes he hit, but to be honest, I didn't like a whole lot of the other things that he brought to that second unit. And I thought he was a lot of the problem. So when you're giving him away, obviously it never feels good to not get anything back, right? But that contract is not fun. And I'm frankly happy, even if we don't get Russell Westbrook, that I don't have to watch him
Yeah,
play
it felt
basketball in a
like
Nuggets jersey.
it felt like we were. What's the movie where Ben Affleck is the coach? He's the alcoholic coach for the high school team.
The Way Back.
The Way Back. Great movie. But so remember the game where Affleck, they're down and he gives this like impassioned speech, and then they just go to the newspaper clipping and it's just them getting their ass beat by like 60 or 70. That's how it felt it was for us willing Reggie Jackson to do good things. Like, we have never put so much positive energy into someone. Like, you could feel it with the Nuggets fans turning on Reggie Jackson. So, like, generally when there's a player that everyone on the Nuggets fandom is against and you can kind of feel it in the building, Ryan and I try to be vocal up in 372 and getting our guys going. But to Ryan's point, it was weird to watch so many young guys and have our one really veteran guy be the guy who was messing up the most defensive rotations. And you just be like,
and just
oh
dribbling.
My God, dude. Like, what are we doing here?
He's got some Earl Boykins in him where he dribbled like 18 seconds of the shot clock. It's brutal.
Yep. So, and some of that is a little bit on Malone, right? Like, you can't keep, like, you have to be like, hey, dude, if you're going to do this, you're not going to play. And just be like, whatever, dude, we're going to figure it out.
We kind of have to stop asking Malone to make those decisions. I kind of want to take a Malone interlude here, because I think as the offseason progresses, I get more and more pissed off at how he managed this team. His just straight up refusal to play any young person, despite maybe their defensive limitations, which I understand, and I'm honestly all for in most contexts. But the context that I'm not for it is when the veteran that you're playing also sucks ass on defense. I don't think that you're replacing, like, at a certain point, you just should play the younger guy to maybe get a spot. Like, put Peyton Watson in the fucking game in Game 7 and see what happens. Like, we needed something. Like, go do something. And I don't think, to bring it back to our original point, Reggie Jackson was never providing that.
No,
he's not going to provide that. And I think part of the reason why we're excited about these people that we're bringing in is, like, Dario Saric can provide that. Like, that guy can hit some threes and, like, do some fun things in that second unit. Russell Westbrook can definitely provide that. So that's why when you're talking about these guys that we're letting go of, like, yeah, I'll miss the sentimental aspect of Reggie a little bit, but
yeah, the player tough to defend.
Can kick rocks, man. Like,
tough to defend.
It was bad. It was. I honestly think we're sort of underrating how bad it was, and I don't think that the Nuggets fans really appreciate how bad it was.
Yeah, it was pretty brutal there. It was pretty brutal. All right, now we go to our darkest night on the timeline. KCP leaves for Orlando, right? As soon as I saw how much money he got, I was kind of like, I mean, good for you, dog. Like, it was like Bruce last year, where you're like, yeah, you should take that deal, dude. Like, you should absolutely take that deal if you're KCP. I think this is where I had a moment where I said to myself, is Calvin Booth sniffing his own farts a little too much? Like, because the press conference was just weird, where he was like, Christian, obviously, KCP was a great player in that situation, but we think with the same opportunities, Christian can do a lot of the same things, and you're always going to be replacing your fifth guy. And it was the same thing as, like, he gave the Peyton Watson breakdown of, like, his wingspan versus Bruce Brown's on the way out of town. And you're like, hey, just we all
Just
know.
say thank you.
We
Just
all
say
know
thank
why you
you.
didn't pay him $22 million because you don't want to go into the second apron. We all know that.
That's the
It's
thing.
not fucking rocket science. We don't have to shit on anyone.
No.
So that was my only thing that I did want to say. Calvin Booth, we need a little less honesty from our general manager, dog.
Honestly,
he is so candid, and you're just like, hey, can you stop?
He's a robot. He's a robot. Which
is what you need to be a good GM, to be clear.
But not in front of the media.
Correct. Yeah.
You have to be able to turn that off. You can't be. I feel like he's actually telling real secrets just out loud.
Oh yeah.
Like that interview with Kevin O'Connor where he's like, I just look for duplicates in my roster. Like I don't want too many duplicative people doing the same types of things. Like I want people doing different types of things. Like, dude, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Like, why are you saying that out loud? So
we need a Calvin Booth clone that can go out there but is like charming and like gregarious, but doesn't actually say anything.
You mean Messiah Jerry?
I was gonna say Magic Johnson. Like Magic Johnson would kind of be perfect to like explain any and all departures / moves, because Magic would just be like, KCP played basketball, amazing, 2 championships, sad to see go.
LOL.
Yeah.
I think
hashtag NBA.
back to the KCP point. I really am gonna miss KCP a lot. He was unbelievable for us. Like I think going to games, you truly do get an appreciation for what KCP does on the defensive end because it's off ball too. Like he is in guy shorts for 40 minutes, and that is very difficult to do in the NBA. And he got very little praise for it. I mean, they were calling him first team in the
we were trying out here, but nobody.
Yeah, well, I'm not talking about us, but I'm just saying in the broader NBA media landscape, like what he was doing went underappreciated, and I do think we're going to miss that. Yeah, but also the second apron is real, and it is not to be trifled with. I think that everybody's comparing us to the Celtics, which is just so fucking stupid. Like they're going into the second apron to pay Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, and Kristaps Porzingis, or not Marcus Smart,
Derek White. Yep.
And all of those guys are like kind of young and like in the prime of their careers. Like, yeah, they don't need very much more. We can't go into the second apron to pay our 5th guy. Like that's not a sustainable thing. You can't. I don't think people are truly grasping how restricted this is, and I'm not either. Like, but you basically can't move your roster if you're in the second apron. Yeah. Like you can't do anything. So I'm sad to see him go. I'm happy he got another massive contract because he deserves it. Like I wish that we could. Dude, Bill Simmons has been talking about
a random Tuesday. Having to see Jalen Suggs and fucking KCP on defense.
Well, I'm just happy they're in the East. I'm happy they're in the East.
100%. Fuck that, Ryan.
But like, we should be able to be rewarded for drafting Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic and Michael Porter Jr. Like, those guys shouldn't count against our cap as much as they do, and we can't sign KCP because we were good at drafting, essentially. Yeah. Like, well, it's not because we're this free agent destination. Like, they made this rule to make sure that the 2016 Warriors with KD never happen again. And what they're actually doing is presenting is a challenge to small market teams that actually do their job well. Yeah. So,
no, it's dumb. Super dumb. And I don't know anyone who likes it as a function, right? Like, to me, it's like I would have, as a team, I want. Say that the Knicks have a crazy run next year, right? If I'm a Knicks fan, I want to be like, I want to go ride and die with the Villanova boys. Like, I want them back no matter what. FU, we're the largest market. We're getting them back no matter what. And to your point, if, they're not a lot drafted. But, if they can be able to do that, I think that's better for the product. For it's like, oh, it's Tatum Brown coming up against the Knicks. Like, that's how you get rivalries, not where like guys know that they're going to be on the move all the time. It becomes harder and harder to get like those deep-seated things where like you can tell, we talked about it in the playoffs, but like Jamal and Jokic don't like the Lakers because they got little sunned by them all the time. And now they're just like, I don't fucking like you. And they came up in suffering in that. And now they don't like them. And I feel like that's getting harder and harder to do with this second apron stuff. Sorry, that was an aside, but it's part of the lack of fun of being able to go to war with KCP again. That would be fun.
Yeah. It's just, I think it may affect the sort of like middle upper class of the NBA too, because like those guys that might have gotten a max deal because they are good and the team drafted them, like there really is no incentive for that to happen anymore. I know that what team is dealing with this right now?
I mean, Cade just got paid wild. And I mean, if you're the Pistons, what are you going to do? But like,
that's
have we had a meaningful
I guess,
have we had a meaningful moment from Cade Cunningham where it's like, hey, we're giving you 5 years, $289 million.
I think in 2 years, when one of these bad teams pays their rookies a max extension and then realizes that they're going to be up against the second apron,
yeah,
like you're just going to see that second tier of guys get paid less money over less year or whatever this structure has to be to protect that cap, because it's going to, I mean, these guys are making insane money, right? Like nobody's crying for them, but if they take a 2%, I mean, honestly, the cap's going to keep going up. So their percentage is going to keep going up too. So it's all going to work out for the players in the end, but I do think it will readjust the market a little bit for some of these guys, and teams are going to have to be better at evaluating their own talent. Yeah. You're not just going to be able to blindly give a guy the max and say, yeah, sure.
He's the best option for us right now. It's like, well, if he can't get you out of the draft, you might have a better option.
That's 5 years of cap hell.
Yeah.
Like you can't move off that guy. Like the Bulls had to like give away what's his nuts. Like
they're trying to give away Zach LaVine. They're in they gave away.
Yeah, DeRozan, I guess that's what I'm saying. Like they can't even trade Zach LaVine because he's on a terrible contract, and teams are looking at that now and saying, well, if I eat that, like normally a tanking team would go eat that contract right away and just be like, Zach LaVine's not going to win us any games. That's fine. Like we have to be above this threshold, but now they can't do that. So it's going to be interesting.
Yep. No, it's wild times. But we'll miss you forever, KCP. And thank you for coming up with the cool 3-point celebration. That was my most fun 3-point celebration to do. I love shooting the KC3 gun. That was an iconic celebration, and I love him for it. And I must say, he kind of got in the Gary Harris wheelhouse of the dribble handoff into the 15-foot pull-up. That thing, he had a lot of, all right, let's settle on down here, boys, moments where it almost became our calm down play. Of like Jokic dribble handoff to him, he would drive hard to that 15-footer, and if you went with Jokic at all, he was shooting it, and it was cash. And if it wasn't, then he would dump it.
Sneaky dagger moments.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Just like that corner three, especially when Jamal and Jokic are cooking, and they're like really have to start collapsing. Yeah. Like the amount of corner threes that guy hit off of just. I mean, it's
He was awesome.
He's got to
forever be a Nuggets legend because he's always going to be in the clip where he had the ball.
Yeah. Well, and he's title. Like, he's a starter on that championship team.
He has ascended to me. I believe I've talked about this on the podcast before. He has ascended to me to the highest athlete tier that you can get to for me as a Denver sports. If he opens a bad restaurant with his name, I will go to it weekly. And I will insist that when people come into town, I'll be like, you should go to KCP's. Oh my God. And I'll make them go there. Like, it won't just be a friendly suggestion. I'll be like, dude, I'll pick you up from the airport. We're going to KCP's, baby. Like, I will single-handedly keep this in business.
Who do you go to Shanahan's like that? Do you go to Elway's like that? Like, who's in
Well,
this
I don't
tier?
have the same connection with LA, to be honest. I was a little young.
Yeah. Hopefully KCP's restaurant is relatively affordable. Otherwise, you could really be racking up a bill.
Listen, I'm going to live whatever lifestyle, do whatever needs to be done to support KCP and his post NBA endeavors. All right.
Bodie, you're going to public school.
I hope it's.
We can.
I hope it's.
We can't eat into this KCP budget.
I hope it's just. I hope he just gets a spot on Gil's Arena, and I just have to subscribe to that. But, well, we'll see what he wants to do. He's in there. All right, now we start to get to the positive. Before Saric, the Westbrook rumors had come out, right? And the part of Jokic said, hey, I'd like to play with him, right? Now, it's since come out from the Denver Post that, like, it's not like he was ultimatum or demanding, which I'm sure Jokic was like, I sound like I'm being a baby. Like, issue this. Tell him I want him, but I'd not leave if he does not come. Like, I could see Jokic being like, I'm not fucking throwing a fit. Like, and so... But well, I think also, so. What was your thing when you heard Jokic wanted Westbrook and we were the front runners? If you could take yourself back to then and like what you first thought.
Yeah. Well, I have a lot of history with Westbrook.
Yeah.
I was in Oklahoma when he was on the Thunder. Those teams were super fun. And I really liked the way that Russell carried himself during those years. He had a sort of like reckless abandon in how he played that I really appreciated. And he was just competitive as hell. Like, you were always going to get 110% out of Russell Westbrook. And then the Nuggets started to get good. And I really, really hated Russell Westbrook. I've said some pretty mean things about him in the past at games to people. But it was all born out of the fact that I knew. And
you're not supposed to like Russell Westbrook when he's on the other team.
No, and he loved messing up the Nuggets. Like, he always seemed like he played well. We always beat the Thunder, but like, he played well.
Yeah.
And so it was super frustrating. And so my initial thought was that the best version of Russell Westbrook, the version that everybody's been asking for the last 8 years of his career, has been this, like, can he set a pick? Can he play any defense? Does he care about his teammates' well-being on the offensive end? Like, does he want to facilitate, or is he going to be pulling up for 24-footers? And that was my initial thought. I was like, oh man, like, every team has talked themselves into this version of Russell Westbrook that he's proven over and over again just doesn't exist. However, I think he is now entering a point in his career that he's out of that. I think he has to be. And so, on top of the fact that I don't know how much he would actually play with Nikola Jokic, because he's going to clearly be coming off the bench and whatever, but he is like an otherworldly creator for this second team. This second string unit has been terrible on offense for 3 straight years. We are not going to suck on offense with Dario Saric and Russell Westbrook. We may give up 180 points, but we will also score 196 because those two guys know how to score, and they're going to figure out how to score together. So that is what makes me excited.
Can I give you my instant reaction?
Yeah.
I looked at my phone. Said, what? Russell Westbrook. And then I just said 2 words into the universe. Fuck yes. All right. We are coming, Ryan. You know me. I love a bring your 12. We'll bring our 12. Let's meet in the middle and we'll figure this out. Who embodies that more than Russell Westbrook? And like, while I am sure there are going to be times where Russ is going to over dribble or be a little over aggressive or be whatever. Russell Westbrook, you talk about Deion Sanders being the vibes coordinator. Russell Westbrook is going to be a great A-plus vibes coordinator for a young team. Like, people were clowning him for that clip in the Lakers locker room where it's like, he's like, all right, guys, let's just go out there and have fun. Let's just go out there and have fun. Like, and you see LeBron looking at him like, I'm going to murder you. Like, do not just go out there and have fun. But I think Russ's leadership instincts were right, where it's like, hey, dude, we're a young team. We're putting all this pressure on ourselves. We're all like getting so pissy. Let's just go out there and fucking play, right? And so do you know who's going to be in their ear just like, yeah, Julian, go ahead. Yank that thing. Like if he hits 2-3 in a row, Russell's coming over, punching him in the chest. And it can't be overstated. A lot of these guys grew up with Russell Westbrook being one of their favorite players. Like you see this
Watson,
with
number 1.
Yeah, you see this with like guys talking about like Kevin Durant or people like that. Like he's a legend kind of status
generation for sure.
And the other thing he provides, so I did go into it in my full brain within minutes of reading this tweet. I was like, this is going to be awesome. I was like, we're going to get him free. He comes off the pick so fast and then he just stops and shoots a little 12-footer. With Jokic setting the pick and absolutely no help coming, even this version of Russell Westbrook, that's going to be very, very hard to guard. So we're going to get Russ going on offense. And then he's going to get to have his confidence going because he's going to sub for Murray at like 6-7 minutes. And then he's going to be able to drive, kick to Murray, kick to Strother, kick to these boys. And Ryan, I am telling you, Nuggets fans are going to fall in love with this guy.
Oh, 100%.
Because there's going to be some stupid dumbass Tuesday game where we would normally blow this shit to the Jazz or something like that, and Russell Westbrook is going to get pissed. And he's going to be like, you know what? This is fucking bullshit. Fuck these guys. Fuck them for thinking they can beat us. Fuck everybody in Salt Lake. And he's going to go out there and just go on a spree and talk a bunch of shit out there. And he's going to get our whole team energy going. And all of a sudden, you don't lose those few games that cost the Nuggets a 1 seed.
I honestly think so it's a lot like why DeAndre Jordan has been our first free agent signing for the last 2 years. Because he is the actual vibes coordinator of the Denver Nuggets. But he doesn't play. Yeah. So there's only so much he can do.
Yep.
Russell Westbrook could go out there and show your ass what you're supposed to be doing. And I agree with you. He is going to do that. Like, I have watched this guy play a lot of basketball. A lot of basketball. And there are 2 things that I think are sort of maybe misunderstood about Russell Westbrook. All of his teammates love him.
Yes.
He is like A+++ teammate. He will make stupid mistakes, but he's never going to BS you about them. Like, he's not going to be like, no, that was Peyton Watson's fault that he missed that. Like, he's going to own what he did, but everybody loves him. Yep. And 2, he really embraces the community that he is in. And if we know anything about Nuggets fans love that shit.
Yep.
And we also know that Ball Arena can turn on a dime. And when we've turned on Russell Westbrook at a dime, so when that's going the other way, Like, I think that is really powerful. And we haven't had that type of guy since. I mean, obviously, Jamal and Jokic can definitely do that. But a guy off the bench like that, I don't think we've had that in the Jokic era.
No, it's what did I say? All playoffs, all year, everything last year. I said, we're missing a guy who gets you a random 20 in a playoff series.
Yeah.
And Russell Westbrook can give you a random 30 in a playoff series. Like, Westbrook is awesome. I think the fact, too, you have low maintenance superstars here in Murray and Jokic. And also, there's like, Jokic will protect you and make you feel wanted all the time, which is something that guy hasn't had really since leaving OKC. You know, like, he was on some like Lakers teams that were severely dysfunctional. He was on obviously that Clippers team that became really wild with Harden and all them.
Playing well.
Yes,
like, he's been playing well.
100%. And that's what I wanted to say. Just with your point of like, he hasn't been the perfect version of Russell Westbrook. He's never been it. I agree with that, and I don't think we need him to be that. We need him to be a little bit more of the Clippers defender that we saw last year. We can't have the lapses, because the reason we used to always beat OKC was that he would lose track of guys on backdoor cuts and stuff, and you just can't do that against Nikola Jokic. So we would just get so many free points out there. But so we need him to be locked in defensively. But then if you're a little over aggressive, dude, go ahead. I don't care, man. Like, we need you in an aggressive mindset, and we need you in the mindset of this second unit is mine. I'm going to take ownership of it, and we are not going to be a liability. We're going to win games because of us. And I'm going to, get Peyton going, get Strother going, get all that going. And I think he has that ability and has had to work on fitting in with others rather than everyone fitting around him, which obviously he developed some habits after KD left OKC, where like he was the only way they were going to win. So they were just like, hey, can you do everything? And to your point, he's so competitive. He was like, I will.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I can. Yeah, you want me to average 30, 10, and 12? Yeah, sure.
And he's
I'm going to need the center to clear out on every single free throw rebound, because I'm going to steal 4 of these every game. But him and Jokic talking about the triple doubles would be hilarious. I would pay $1 million to watch them interviewed, and like watch Jokic watch some of those OKC clips of everybody literally running away from the ball so Russell could get the rebound. Jokic like literally hitting it with his head so somebody else gets the rebound so he doesn't get a triple double.
Yeah,
like having that film breakdown. Maybe we should ask him to come on the pod and have that be the premise.
I think that's a bad idea. I think we need to be as loving Nuggets Nation as we can.
Both find it funny. I actually do think they would, because Jokic doesn't care. He'd be like, "Are you serious, brother? This is what you were doing."
No.
I wish these teammates were like this. I would have 22 rebounds a game, man. I mean, Jesus Christ.
No. We can't have any of that energy. But Russ, it gives
how much
you.
Were you paying Cantor to run like that?
Oh my gosh. No, Russ, don't listen to any of this. All right. But you know what? One other part that really got me fired up is thinking about because like it was cool, obviously, to just see the Nuggets win a championship for the first time, right? But like it was really cool to see Jeff Green, to see DeAndre, to see Ish Smith. And so part of also what I think was missing last year was like, we kind of had the same guys back and then rookies. So you're like, who's this going to be crazy cool for? Like, who's going to give, the one speech where everyone's like, holy shit, all right, you're right, we should stop dicking around with the Heat. Like, like, who's going to give that chat? And this year, imagine it's Russ, dude. And imagine we get a Nuggets championship and we get because they do it. I mean, he wouldn't direct quote it or anything, but do the Nuggets equivalent of this one's for Ray, where, it's like, oh, they hand it to whoever, but everyone's like, Russ. And Russ gets to hold the thing. He's crying. He's talking about in the press. You know what? It's just, there's been so many people saying stuff about me and talking down about me and saying I would never make it here. But Jokic wanted me. And you know what? The Nuggets wanted me, and they embraced me, and they let me be me. And I thought I was done for in the NBA. I thought I couldn't be me anymore, and I had to adjust. But Jokic showed me the true way. And Jokic says, brother, shut up. Parade is starting. All right? Come on. We got to get this thing going. But, like, seeing that emotional moment, if we get Russell Westbrook a title, Ryan, mark it down right now. I famously was working overnights and kind of pussed out on the Nuggets parade the first time. I promise I will not miss out on a parade that involves Russell Westbrook. There's zero way I will miss out on that.
I learned a lot from the first parade, and I think I will have a beautiful strategy for us to see them multiple times. So
great.
I think
did the sentimental, kind of daydreaming of the fan, right? Where obviously your free agent signings, you're trying to maximize what could happen and, everything.
Well, I think what makes that especially exciting is that the thing that you're describing, in order for that to happen, I think one of the better versions of Russ has to be realized, and I think he would really get flowers for that. Like, yep. I don't think it would just be like, oh, he joined Jokic. And
no, he would have moments.
I think there would be moments. To have those type of one shining moment type of clips where
you need to be Bruce Brown. You need to have 3 games throughout the playoffs where we go, holy shit, I didn't know Bruce Brown was going to do that.
Yeah.
And if you get 3, the rest of them, we just need you to be at a baseline of defense all that, right? Like,
I just got chills.
Dude, it's unreal thinking about it. I want to root for Russell Westbrook more than I want to root for... I mean, if we'd have brought back Paul Millsap and Gary Harris and Monte Morris, maybe them more. But, I promise you're not going to find a more positive fella night one at Ball Arena than when Russ is out there off the bench. I am going to be just going crazy. I am going to
jersey.
Oh, we're going to be giving him the Poland love and restoration from 372. Your soul's been hurt by those soulless vampires in LA. Don't worry about it. Here in the good old hometown of Denver, we'll get you going right.
Do you think that he's going to give Christian Brown 0? Or do you think he's going to give him a ridiculous amount of money for it?
Oh, I didn't even think about that. I think if I'm Russ, I'm going to go for a different number. I'm going to be like, that's fine.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what numbers we have available.
I think they were saying that in OKC, I remember reading an article that he would sit at the team cafeteria and look over all of his bills and get pissed if his internet went up or something. Be like, these motherfuckers shouldn't be charging me so much.
Isn't he 00 at some point? Maybe he should go 00.
I'd be down for 00.
Fun. A 00 and a 0 on the team?
I'm just saying, if you're Russ, don't you want to sell a bunch of new jerseys? Just go out there and you have some moments in Denver.
I'm committing to buying one.
I don't think you're wrong. I'll tell you that, because he might be my number one Denver athlete that I'm rooting for this year. Not that is the best, not that is that, but that, how you can't always be the best if you're always rooting for him, right? It's like I felt this way about Peyton Watson, last year. He was my guy who I was like, dude, just fucking go off, man. Let's go. And you're kind of willing them to it. And some nights they do it, some nights they don't. And that's kind of the fun of the come up, right? So I'm along for the journey, and I'm pro Russell Westbrook. Welcome to Denver whenever it happens, baby. We will be locked and loaded. And I can't wait for you to win a title. Now, the news that came through after the Westbrook kind of rumors, it solidified. We got Saric 2-year, $10.6 million contract, player option in the second. What are your thoughts on this one, Ryan? As far as it's not a true center. He played center. He played, like you said, he's played 3, 4, and 5. So provides a lot of versatility, but isn't like a 100% traditional center. What were your thoughts on the move? How did you feel?
Yeah, I like the value of it. I don't know what Sarge is at this point. I feel like I didn't admittedly watch a whole lot of him last year, so I looked up the highlights. It seems like mostly old Dario. Before he got hurt, he was filthy. Like before that injury, when the Warriors got him, everybody was like, "Oh, this is unfair." Like,
Yeah, no.
And then he gets hurt, and obviously it sort of spiraled from there. But I think I'm excited about the versatility of him coming off of the bench. And I think you can play him in a lot of different spots. He's never going to get played off the floor. So that's important. I think he brings some offense, like I mentioned before. I think his defense is sort of mid. So that was the interesting part to me. Like I guess we're sort of counting on De'Ron Holmes to be that sort of rim protecting type of guy if we need that. But I think I love the value of it, and offensively, I think it's great. Defensively, I think it's a little rough.
Yeah, I definitely think, obviously, this is not a true center. I think also there were stretches, even in the playoffs, where we were like, how are we going to score? Like, if they don't turn the ball over and we have to play 5-on-5 basketball, I don't know what we're going to do. And I think Saric is a interesting and new strategy for the Nuggets in terms of, I think they'd been trying to get a traditional 5, kind of bouncy roll man, all that stuff. And now they're getting kind of a crafty, obviously he's not Jokic, but he looks at the game in a similar way. He can pass out of a double team. He's got good mid-range, all that, not the most explosive athlete. I think this is going to be just fine during the regular season, and I think in the playoffs it's going to be great. You and I were talking before the podcast. Aaron Gordon getting in foul trouble was a death sentence for us versus the Wolves because we didn't have anyone else to go in there. Now, you can put Saric next to Jokic. It's not the same athleticism. It's not the same thing. But you are also saying, hey, you can't not guard like they chose to not guard Aaron Gordon. Because if you just don't guard Saric on corner threes,
he's going to bang.
You can get a few buckets from Rudy, but we're going to score threes on the other end, and it's going to be bad for you. So I think this is a good strategy in terms of it gives us something that you and I have talked a lot about on this show is the congruence between playing Jokic ball and then playing normal basketball. And this, I think, gives us a little bit more opportunity to have that similar thing where it's okay, this guy is going to catch it. He can catch it out of that, and he can whip to corners. He can do that. You can play through a pick and roll with him catching it in the mid post.
His name is Saric. And he's 6 whatever and is white.
And we saw it
can sling the ball around the court.
Yeah. We saw it in with Croatia versus Greece recently. Our boy Saric came up short against Giannis, but they were playing through him, and off of doubles, he was making great passes, making great reads. And so I think there's something to that rather than trying to, in the past, we've had Hartenstein, Plumlee, guys who are really limited decision-making wise, but can be explosive dunkers, good, best on the roll. But it's really hard for a guard to go from playing with, I'm used to dumping this mid-post every time, to I should throw oops every time, right? And I think there's more congruence that happens there. And I think this move was also a nod to the fact that, hey, in the playoffs, we're going to still play Gordon at 5. Gordon's strong, and then we're just going to have size with Saric out there.
And DeAndre can still play spot minutes.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. But I think the Nuggets are saying when we get down to our championship time,
Oh yeah.
we're still going to put Gordon in positions to do that. And Saric, I think, helps us do that more so than anything we had last year. So to me, I think we upgraded in terms of you would have wanted at the end of last season, you would have said, hey, we were missing some veterans who could have some offense and who weren't scared of the moment and who had earned trust. And now we're getting extra years and we have Saric on a cheap deal. I think this is great.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think really when you boil down the offseason and you think about the fact that really if you asked any Nuggets executive, I think for the first, or, if you asked them in January of last year during the season, is KCP coming back? They would have said no.
Yeah.
Right? So that's the big loss. Obviously, you lose around the fringes, you do every year, but KCP was the big one that we had to replace. And we didn't replace him. We sort of just upgraded Christian Brown into the roster, which is fine. But if you would told us at the beginning of this that you get Dario Saric and Russell Westbrook, I think we take that. And so I understand Nuggets Nation being a little apprehensive. I am too, honestly. I think going back to the way that Calvin Booth has handled some of this stuff in the media, I don't think he's done that well. No. And I think that it hurts the value of the signings, and it feels a little shittier for the fans when you sort of give a guy a kick in the ass on the way out. It's not as fun for us to celebrate KCP when you're shitting on him, essentially. And you're not really shitting on him, but you're just
you're trying to hype your new guy up, but just hype your new guy up behind.
You're saying the truth, but leave out the negative stuff. It's negative recruiting.
Yeah.
You can just talk about your team instead of
it's not exactly we're not exactly a destination city. All right. We can't have these role players worried that we're gonna shit on them on the way out and be like, all those stats were inflated. He just played with Jokic. Jokic is unreal.
And I think that, the key to all of this is Jokic. And Jokic is going to make anybody who's on this team better. I firmly believe that, and I honestly think it's backed up by the last 5 years of Nuggets basketball. They are a better team because Jokic is on the team, and everybody is better because of him. And when they leave the Nuggets, they sometimes get exposed. And I am not ruling that out for KCP. He was not good in the playoffs.
No, I think he was very tired. Very tired too. And that's where I think this is. I think if you told me to give you a short, honest assessment, I'd say our starting five got worse and our bench got better. Mm-hmm. And to me, our starting five was good enough with Christian in there, with whatever. I think that still clears other starting fives by enough that just keeping those guys fresh is the most important thing. And so if you can expand a lead because Russ lost his mind and then he got Julian going at home and all of a sudden, instead of the starters coming back into a 5-point lead when they left with a 13-point lead, it's sitting there at 25 and it's a laugher. And we get 30 minutes from Jokic. We get, those light games. I think that's so, so important.
I say this every year, but I think it's the playoffs really boil down to a lot of times who is the best player on the floor. Do you actually have the best player on the floor? And we have the best player on the floor. And often we have the best two players on the floor. So it's really just about figuring out those pieces around it. And I think a lot of people can fit into that system, which the Nuggets fans are not used to. We've never had a player that is as plug and play as Nikola Jokic. And honestly, maybe nobody has ever. So I think it's an interesting test. And I think Jokic is going to pass with flying colors and the Nuggets are going to be good.
Perfect. Last little thing I wanted to go through. Obviously, there was a little bit of panic today in Nuggets Nation when it came out that Murray has not signed it. Blackburn was coming out saying, hey, it still could get done, absolutely, but like it's not done. Like it's not like, oh, we'll sign this on this day.
It
It's
sounds
like
like it
both
hasn't
sides.
been formally offered.
Yeah. And then Harrison Wind does great work for DNVR. I think he's very plugged into the team. Came out and said, I fully expect this to happen after the Olympics, which to me is a little bit interesting. It raised a little bit of my antenna of the Nuggets were like, that's fine if you want to play for your country, but we're not being stuck with this contract until we're sure you don't tear shit in Paris, which is a heartless thing, but is a reality of like, we have to protect ourselves, right? Like, and I think that's how I read it. Do you have any other thoughts? Are you concerned about the potential of hurt feelings here from Jamal and or something? Because, like I said, all I want to do is watch Jamal, Jokic, MPJ, Aaron Gordon fight down into the dust. And until one of them wants to leave for more money, that's fine. Like, I don't care. But, like to me, I'm just like,
yeah, no, I don't think
I want Jamal to stay. So is there any smoke here or any fire?
There's smoke for sure. Because I mean, honestly, it's the Nuggets playing hardball. It has to be. There's only so many reasons that this would happen, and I don't anticipate, like, if the Nuggets were just offering the max with no stipulations, nothing involved in it, no situations at all, Jamal Murray is signing this contract. So there clearly has to be some sticking point. Like, I think formally offered this. I'm getting into a little bit of trade secrets here. Formally offered is, and I don't deal with anything on this level, but I'm just telling you from what I know. Formally offered is the key phrase here, because they're clearly negotiating this, right? So like him and his agents and the team are negotiating the actual structure of this deal. It's going to be the max money. That's clear. Like it definitely is going to be. It's what does that look like? What protections do the team have if you, whatever, in the last year of the deal? Can you guarantee this money this way? What's the incentives? Like all this stuff gets negotiated. That's fine. That's fine to delay it. It clearly is a power move by the Nuggets to be like, well, you're under contract next year. So like, yeah, have fun in Paris. Focus on Canada. We'll talk to you in a couple months. Like that's a power move. And as a player, I don't think Jamal Murray's feelings are going to be hurt. And honestly, I think even if he tore something in Paris, we would sign him to the max deal after his rehab next summer, probably. So I think he's getting the max. It's just, again, back to the Calvin Booth of it all. Like, why are you doing this? What are we really negotiating about?
Yeah.
And
I think
it feels ego based, honestly. It's like,
here's all I'll say. Shams, I think, has passed Woj as the most plugged in guy. I think that became obvious with the Lakers coaching search. Shams came out in front of it and was like, JJ's the guy. And then it was clear that Woj leaked the Hurley thing at Hurley's request so that Hurley could negotiate a bigger deal from UConn to try to drive that up. If Shams put his name on it and said they're going to get this done, that plus Wind, who I think is unbelievably plugged in, I think this is done. And I don't think there's any hurt feelings or anything on either side. I think, to your point, I think Murray has a small enough ego. And, the story that ESPN loves using during the games of, like, he came to Malone, like, crying, like, please don't trade me. Like, so he thought, even with all he'd shown in the bubble and all that, in his mind, when he tore it the first time, he was like, I'm done. And so I don't think a guy with that level of like hunger and ego, I don't think think you're right. It's probably a little bit of a slight to him, but I think it's okay. Like, honestly, I don't think he'll
if
make
I'm
it a big
Jamal
deal.
Murray and it's truly me, I'm in his position, and the Nuggets said to me and they're negotiating over little stipulations, and they want to do some little things. I'm gonna look at them and say, all right, well then, if I when I get through Paris, say he has an unbelievable Olympics, outshines SGA in the
group of death
Team
too.
Canada, they get whatever,
they get out,
silver, he plays unbelievable and gets through healthy, looks like Bubble Ball, and they come back to him and say, oh, we're so happy to offer you the 5-year max. Congratulations, Jamal. I'd say, you know what? I actually think I'm going to play this season. I'm going to get all NBA, and you're going to have to pay me the super max next summer because you decided to wait until after Paris to pay me my money.
That you are a risky man. And, yeah, I don't foresee him doing that. I think that's...
I mean, honestly, what's the worst case scenario from his point of view?
You tear your ACL and you don't have a max sitting there, and now the Nuggets say, well, actually, who wants to free agent sign this guy who you're going to have to sit a whole year?
Yeah.
It's his second ACL.
It's a risk, but I'm just saying, there are risks on both sides,
of course. Yep, I agree with that. But I just want to see Jamal back in a Nuggets uniform.
100%.
I want us to,
and that's going to happen. I
can't wait.
Reporting that it's going to happen. I guess that's the key.
Yep.
Is that yes, I believe it's going to happen. Whether or not Jamal, we don't know enough about the negotiations to know whether he should be pissed off or anything. So. Yeah, I hope that it's all above board and everybody's on the same page, and he's just going to sign it in August and it'll be no problem.
Yep. That sounds right to me. Let's ride, Nuggets Nation. God, I can't be more fired up about this team. My God, to see Russell cradling the trophy and Dario Saric, he's going to be a little tipsy, just like in that Greece encounter he had with Zubac out there, protecting his boy Zubac.
I think that Russ is going to be this might be the hottest take of it's not a hot take, but I think Russ might be the most influential on Peyton Watson having wild success. I think it might unlock Peyton Watson because he loves Russell Westbrook. Yeah. They're from LA.
Hero.
Russ was one of the first NBA players to start going to his games. It's
no, I think you're right there. I can't wait for Saric to do the thing where after we win the title, and he's a little drunk because he's had a few, and so he's just giving interviews, but he's a little doused up at this point. And so he's like, I can't believe there's people who think that Embiid is better than Jokic. I have played with both of these guys. Holy hell. Did you see some of those passes out there? Embiid would have torn his ACL just looking at that pass. Oh, my gosh.
We didn't talk about the Olympics at all, but I think Embiid's legacy is about to be sealed by this U.S. team melting down.
There's no way they can lose, right? You really think they can? That would make me very happy. But
I'm putting an emotional bet on Serbia in the first game. I'll tell you that much for sure. Money line, baby.
No. Yeah, they are not going to be any more up for a game than that one. I'll tell you that, and it is going to be a buzzsaw.
Yeah, well. Disagree.
Place your bet at the Kyle Poland Casino. Give you 50-50 odds. No vig.
No vig. Yeah. I think you should have to give me a vig. Isn't that the whole point?
I guess, yeah. It'd be a plus odds thing, money line. But, yeah. We will take your money if you're willing to give it away. But go Nuggets. We can't wait. We're
they're
starting to get into
they're
the
plus
Olympics time.
850.
It's going to be fun.
They're plus 850 to win a championship right now.
Well, if you like free money, then go ahead and place that bet, I tell you, because it's coming home.
That feels stupid. Those
Dad,
odds do feel dumb.
We had to let that thing go shipping up to Boston briefly, but it's coming home, Ryan. Yeah. It's coming home. I can't wait. God bless America, Russell Westbrook, Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, and every Denver Nugget from sea to shining sea, even though there are no seas in Colorado. Anything else to add, Ryan?
No.
All right, that's great. Hey, how was your 4th? Did you have a good time?
I basically did nothing.
Dude, that sounds like awesome. A great time. Yeah, I went up to the mountains with the kid. It was a great time. He was like just rolling in dirt immediately, which is there's something good about that. That you're just like, I'm being a good parent now, even if like you haven't done anything. They just decided to roll in the dirt. You're like, look at me, dude. I'm getting my kid out in nature. A superior feeling comes upon you.
We're under a month to 3rd birthday for Bodhi, and let me tell you, I'm under stress about this birthday present.
I mean,
I feel like I've crushed it so far.
You have been doing well.
And it feels like it's time to get a little ridiculous. So
I can tell you that's fine. I can tell you there's no way you're going to beat Kesha's parents' gift. It's going to be the favorite. It's honestly kind of demotivated Kesha and I. They're getting in one of those little cars.
Oh, fuck.
Where you like motorize them around and stuff. And he got to play with one at a friend's house.
That's what
this last weekend.
I was about to do some serious research.
Like, I told Mom yesterday, in love with it.
I told Mom yesterday that this is non-podcast material. But
yeah. Hey, I'm glad you had a good 4th. And I'm glad that the Nuggets are going to be A-okay, everyone. So to wrap this episode up, the Broncos are still going to suck, and the Nuggets are going to be very good.
And the Nuggets, most importantly, like, we won a championship, everybody. We won a championship 2 years ago. So everybody chill the fuck out. Yep. This team's going to be super fun and win like 54 games. So just fucking relax.
I'm about to live for these Russell Westbrook pressers. I can't wait, dog. I can't wait. It's going to be awesome. All right. Well, thank you everyone for listening. Please like, subscribe, and we will talk to you in a few weeks.
Bye.
Bluesuper Brothers is a Crab Shell Media podcast.